Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts I can make a difference to your life. A little bit more information before we pop on over to the podcast. So we're currently residing in the stunning province of Almeria in the south of Spain. As an extension of my mentoring and life coaching services, I'm now offering 4-night retreats tailored for women who are ready to prioritise themselves. So if you're a woman and you're interested in spending quality time with myself and 2 other participants, please visit my website for more details. Additionally, for business leaders and coaches who wish to have their own retreat here in Spain with their clients, I handle all of your logistics, including airport transfers, accommodation and meals for your group. If you'd like to request a retreat proposal, kindly send me an email. You'll get all of my contact information in the description below. Thank you.
Effortless Attraction podcast is sponsored by Colette Leeson Interview and Career Coaching. If you dream of landing your ideal job, consider Colette's services. With a success rate exceeding 90% among her interview clients, Colette offers personalized career guidance and interview coaching discreetly, both online and in person. She also conducts workshops and provides career advice talks. For further details, visit ColetteLeeson.com.
Today I am joined by the beautiful, very smiley Colette Leeson from Belfast. Colette is an interview skills and career coach with over 90% success rate with her interview clients. Colette, I am delighted to have you here today.
I'm absolutely delighted that you invited me today. I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you.
It's great, actually. Myself and Colette have our paths crossed. I'd say it's probably this last few months or so, for 3 months perhaps, and we have worked together, and it has led us to this particular moment in time. And I am so curious to ask loads of questions here today. Interview skills and careers coach. It is something, I suppose, that a lot of people that are stepping forth in jobs, or we feel we've prepared for it, but you get that wee letter that says, on this occasion, you have been unsuccessful. So, Colette, let's start back with first-time interviews. You have clients coming to you now. What would you recommend for people stepping forth the very, very first time that they have to step into a room to get interviewed?
Well, I think for me, I think this is a really good question, because I think if you've never been for an interview before, the worst thing you can do is go straight in and wing it, answering the questions. I think that those who do well at interview prepare. They practice, they prepare their answers, and they find out about the company. And I think that if you look at any great actor or musician or something like that, they do not go and do a performance without actually having prepared, rehearsed and refined before they go in front of who they want to impress. And it's exactly the same with an interview. So for me, whether you're a first timer or whether you're going back after a career break or you're wanting to transition to a new role, it's the same. It's about actually looking at investing in yourself in terms of making sure you're as prepared as possible and you present the best version of yourself when you're with that employer.
When you say present the best version of yourself, so we have nerves. People are so
Yes.
nervous and they're sweating the
Absolutely.
bit out and wondering what
Absolutely.
to wear. How then do I, when you talk about present myself in the best case, I've read somewhere in the first 9 seconds you create an impression. Is that as soon as that door opens and in she goes?
Well, absolutely. I think, the key thing is that we all form impressions based on what we see, what we look at, what we're looking at, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever. We always form an impression based on how someone not only looks and what they're wearing, but how they present themselves, how they speak, how their body language is, and how they present themselves as confident or otherwise. So yes, there is stuff in relation to your body language, how you present yourself, how you make that opening, how what you're wearing, have you had your hair done, etc. But there's also a lot you can do to prepare in terms of the types of questions you might be asked, and also to think about the examples that best fit that. And I think for me, that's where I can help, is in and around the helping with those interview nerves, but also drawing out those nuggets of information that maybe you just feel, actually, I just do this, but actually it's important in terms of a job interview example. And that's where I get a lot of my buzz when I see clients actually think, oh, I didn't realize that. And it comes out in the middle of our conversation. So it really is starting to think about, what's my best examples? What do I actually do in life that is important and maybe that I underestimate, and actually feeding that into my interview examples. And that's the sort of help that I would work with clients on.
Yeah. I remember my daughter a few years ago going for an interview. And I says, now, Erin Rose, remember to tell them that you also designed the book cover for my book. I said, say your
Mhm.
mum is an author, She says,
Yeah.
Mummy, I will not. And I says, be different. I'm quite sure people
Absolutely.
take things for granted, as you say, and you pull out those nuggets. Actually, that is different.
Yeah,
They say sometimes that people may not remember what you say, but they will remember how you make them feel. So, on
exactly.
that note, we could have all this information stored up in our head, Colette.
Mhm.
Is there a difference in delivering words, just words that come from head, or words with, I actually mean that?
Yeah, yeah, and that is actually it. You could prepare, and I think a lot of people fall into the trap of trying to find the perfect answer to answer the question, and they prepare, and in fact, they over prepare. And they can come across as robotic. So it is actually being authentic, it's being realistic, it's having examples that demonstrate the real you, because the employer's really wanting to find out how you'll fit in, not only what experience and skills you have, but how you'll fit in with the culture of the organization, how you'll fit in with the team. And they're making an investment in you. You're also making an investment in them as well. So you're wanting to actually understand that this is the type of organization you want to be in. But certainly, back to the point about Aaron Rose and the book cover, I think the key thing is it's around actually demonstrating that you have examples that are not just off the cuff, sort of rehearsed examples, but you've got something of interest, something that makes you stand out as an individual, and also sets out your initiative and some of the other sort of key skills that you can bring to the table whenever you're actually in the organization. So absolutely, it's selling the best of you, the information that you have, the skills that you have, and the experience that could link. And it's not, I suppose, the other key thing, it's not about throwing out random information. It's about trying to link it to the job specification, the skills that they're looking for, and actually demonstrating that not only you have that experience, but you can see how it fits with their organization and what they would like you to do.
Colette, have you ever had a client? I've heard this recently where someone really knows the job back to front, inside out.
Yeah.
They're going for an interview for another position in a different company, but I've
Mhm.
heard it say they don't interview well.
Yeah.
Have you heard? I think they perhaps are introverts, that they don't interview well. They have all this stuff, but what does that
Mhm.
mean? They don't interview well.
Well, I think this can be something that's used. I suppose a lot of us would say that ourselves. Oh, I don't interview well, and that can be a self-limiting belief that then means that you cannot actually learn how to present yourself in the best light. So I think it's a phrase that says that, oh, I can't do it in the right way. I can't present myself in the right way. I think with the right preparation and the right support and the right coaching, anyone can present the best of themselves. And it is actually, I suppose, where I see my role, I'm a bit, I'm your coach, I'm your mentor, I'm your cheerleader. I will also challenge, and I'm a bit of a virtual assistant as well. So my role is actually to help you and guide you so that you have a story that you can tell, but it's in a way that is authentic to you. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, I think it's important to be aware of what the company does, what your skill sets are, match that, and rehearse. And I suppose that as a careers advisor, what I can do is support you in gathering those examples, but also helping you to rehearse them in a way that makes you feel comfortable, and you will then present it in the best way possible. So I think for anyone, if you walk straight in and do it, you will feel you don't interview well. But if you prepare in the same way as an actor would prepare a script before they would go on a stage and rehearse it and learn it, then it will help you to actually feel much more comfortable when you get in there.
You mentioned two words, and I
Two
love
words.
these
Yes.
two words out of
Okay.
all of that. But I heard a lot. I heard a lot. Limiting beliefs. Now, it's something that
Mm,
I talk about quite a lot. What you believe to be true, you'll
yeah.
create that.
Yeah.
So, limiting beliefs, do people set themselves, oh, I can only go for this job, or I can only do this? How easy or difficult is it for you as a coach helping your clients? You can do more,
Hmm.
unlimit
Hmm.
beliefs.
Yeah. Well, I work with a wide range. I suppose to give an example, I work with a wide range of people from top professionals right the way through to women returners, to people who are starting their careers, students, and people who have been long term unemployed. And I hear this from all of them, so it's not something that's particular to any particular social class or group or person. But I think the key thing is that you know we all, and I suppose women in particular, I have to say, and I work with men and women, but with women in particular, we sort of have that self-limiting belief. We have the imposter syndrome. Oh no, I couldn't do that. And we also have the piece which is in around well, sure, that's just what I do. And so therefore it's a case of actually, the role that I play is to actually step back. I like to get to know my clients, to understand them, to get curious about what they've done, why they've done, and actually then to present it back to them in a way that they say, well, actually, that's not just what you do, that you have as a mother, you've had skills actually supporting the family, making meals, doing the budgets, actually planning holidays. If you're, a carer, you're actually sorting out the medicines, sorting out the facilities, etc., etc. Every one of us, no matter whether we're in jobs or roles, we have skills and experience to bring to the table. So I suppose, whilst we all, when we're looking at ourselves, we might feel, no, I can't do. It is about actually developing the belief that we can, and then looking at the experience and skills and actually building a story around that so that we actually have a story that we can own and believe based on evidence that we've actually done it in the past.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes for another to reflect back. This is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Or we
Absolutely.
assume, well, sure, everybody does that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's right. And, one reason, I suppose, if you look at things like, people will pay for, a coach to help them get fit. They'll pay for a coach to help them, you know, learn how to dance or something like that. But in terms of careers and confidence, I think, that's critical, because if all we've heard of is our friends or family or whatever, we're hearing those same stories over the years, whereas a coach has no vested interests except to actually help you be a better version of yourself. And by working with a coach in relation to this, it is around actually having someone that you can sign, their sounding board, they help advise, they help support, they help challenge you, so that actually, if you have those limiting beliefs, it's challenging the evidence that supports that and starting to build a new story. So I think for me, that's the bit that I enjoy the most, is actually seeing people grow, seeing their confidence grow, and seeing them actually want then to take the step and be successful. That's where my best bits. And I was speaking to a client last week who'd got a job, and she was ringing me because she was saying, well, I won't need that next session. And I said, well, that's great. I said, my job is to help you not need me anymore. And really, my job is to make sure that by the end of our engagement, you are able to get that job of your dreams, or whether it's a training course or whatever, that you feel much more prepared. I don't have the magic wand to help you actually get up. You do have to put in the work yourself, but equally with my support and help, you can actually get much further than trying to do it alone. And I think that's where I come in. And I am always delighted whenever someone gives me the thank you card and tells me they no longer need me. That's my job done.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, tell me this. I remember as a careers coach, the only careers officer I've had,
Yeah,
was at secondary school.
yeah.
And you went and you sat down, and it was based on the subjects that you chose.
Mhm.
And I remember at that time, strange enough, I didn't do so great the first time round of my GCSEs. And the only subject I particularly liked at that kind of was accountancy, which I
Yeah.
laughed. And she says, "You'll never be accounts." I think I actually went on to university and done accounts nearly despite her. But no one, and I had this discussion last night with two very professional people. And again, I asked why they chose their careers at that time. And they said, well, either it was what the schools were wanting you to go down that academic route, to
Mhm.
be a professional, to be in the medical profession. But no one ever said, do you believe you'll be happy at doing this? How important is
Yeah.
that? There's two
Um,
questions here. Number one,
yeah.
how important is it that we feel
Mhm.
I am actually going to be fulfilled doing this role? And what was the other question now? Yes. Is it something then that you would put to your clients? Do you feel that this is something that you're going to
Yeah.
be happy at doing?
Yeah. Well, I'll answer this. You've asked it too. I've probably answered it in more than two. I suppose my experience back then was exactly the same as yours. I, went to the big school, went to the grammar school, having been a tomboy at school, and suddenly ended up in a arena that my parents, who were working class, wanted me to be the first in the family that went to university, and so I followed. Um, those sort of ideas and rules until I rebelled against it, and then ended up in the civil service for a number of years. Um, and I suppose I fell into roles that actually I felt that my parents and everybody else would feel, yeah, that's right, and that's solid career, that's good pension, that's this and that. And there wasn't really the careers advice in my school at that time. I then became a careers officer in West Belfast in the 90s, and worked in the job centres and in the local schools up in West Belfast. And again, it was the same sort of thing. At 16 years of age, people were being asked to choose, and to feel that they, needed to decide on a career, and that would just be it. And some people just all they had as role models were the people around them, their families, their friends who lived in the local streets. Um, what I have learned over the years, I suppose, and back to your point about the happy and putting it to the client, is that actually, and that's what led me back to going out on my own as a careers coach, was that actually at that age we are a person. We evolve, we change, our interests change. A number of the people I'm working now are people who have maybe taken time out to have a family. They maybe did accountancy, they maybe trained as a lawyer, they maybe trained as whatever. They got the job, they went to university, they got into the job. And then when they take time out, they think, is this really where I want to be for the rest of my life? I also have people who are looking at, we're not leaving with the gold clock at 60 anymore. We're working longer. We have to work longer in many cases. So people are thinking, well, is this what I want to do with the rest of my life? So, for lots of reasons, people are stepping back and saying, okay, and that's what I personally have done is looked back and thought, what do I want to do? What skills and experience do I want to have? And where do I want to be spending my time to make a difference rather than just taking a wage? And I suppose that's what I've done. That's what I work with my clients to do. And depending on where they're coming from, is about looking at something that fits with their values, fits with their experience and skills, but also is something that they feel that they would be happy in and make a difference. And that's really, if we can fit that mold and get them to working in it's something that they also feel they can make a difference in with the time that they have, whether that's part-time, full-time, remote or whatever. It's trying to look at all of those elements rather than just picking a job because it's safe or because it has a pension or whatever. And I think that's sort of outdated these days. And really, I suppose that's where having a coach can help you start thinking differently about how
Yeah.
you manage those transitions.
Yeah. No, it changed. And as you say, you're not the same girl at 16, not the same girl at 26, and life evolves. You have children or that. And another thing that stepped in the road or stepped in for someone was great and it changed their careers also was COVID, because things
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
changed. People had to stop, take a wee look around, think, is this what I want to do? And
Hmm.
listen, I understand, because people have mortgages, they have food to put on the table, they have electric bills to pay. And so when we go in search of a job, one of the first things people look, how much am I getting paid?
Mm,
That's a good company
absolutely.
to work into too. What would you advise for people though, when you're looking into a company? Like, I have a real good friend there who's in neuroscience, and he goes into companies that are heart-based companies that seek
Hmm.
first their employees, because they know if
Hmm.
they have happy, content, satisfied, fulfilled employees, their business becomes more fruitful. They have less staff turnover. Are
Hmm.
those things that are people looking out for? Is that something that they're looking into?
I think that's increasingly what people are looking for. And I think you're absolutely right. The whole period about COVID, we had what was known as quiet resignation. People just deciding this is, I don't want this anymore. There's more to life. The time out of the workplace and working remotely and schooling their children, etc. They started to feel, well, look, there is more. And I need to make sure. And, in my case, I had a family member who had a heart attack, and that changed my mind in terms of how I want to spend my time. So I think, it's employers are noticing this, and those employers who are doing well are looking at things like social value, about actually giving something back, about looking at how they support local communities and long-term unemployment and stuff like that. And I think, for people looking for roles, I think it is important to actually research the company and look at how they do business, how they treat their staff, how they manage their staff, because again, you're going to be spending a lot of your day there. And it's actually important, if you're moving jobs or coming back into the workplace, to make sure that actually it aligns with you, whether you want to work part-time, whether you want to actually be in a position that you can work remotely or hybrid or whatever. And I think those employers that are doing really well, I was at an event last week, and I can't remember the girl's name, but she runs the Muff Gin and Vodka Company in Donegal, and she's a brilliant story. But one of the things she was saying was she really looks after her own mental health. And she has built meditation rooms in the distillery. And whenever her employees come in the morning, it doesn't matter what time they arrive in at, they have to take 10 minutes in the meditation room beforehand, because she does not want any negative energy going into the workplace.
Mm.
And they spend time there before they go out as well. So again, I think it's about being, I think we all worry about the I need a job and I need money. But I think if we, the working on yourself and your own confidence and what you value from an employer actually helps you to be more choosy about which employers you want to work for. And I think actually taking the time to do that means that you're not just jumping into something for a wage that may actually be more detrimental to your confidence and mental health, if you actually end up going into that type of an environment. So I like to think that working with me, I have had clients that have started one direction, but as a result of actually exploring what makes them tick, what they value, what they want to actually get out of work, and how important that is in their life, it sometimes changes just their tact. And that's, and whether that means going back to study, or maybe going into something more sort of interim, while it's actually going for the longer term goal. And I think that piece actually allows you actually to work it out with a critical friend and a confidant before you actually do anything with an employer.
Yeah, because you're bringing that home. It's not that work stops at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever time it stops.
Yeah,
You're taking that home. A lot of people take
absolutely.
that home, so it has a knock-on effect also. Um, what have you noticed are telltale signs of people that are in a job, maybe a great position, as people see it from the outside? They're near burnout. Their
Mhm.
mental health is taking an impact. If we could deliver some of for people to be mindful, watch out for these key signs that
Mhm.
perhaps you need to shift, you need to move. It's not fulfilling your values, and maybe your best of service elsewhere.
Yeah. I think what I see in people is, well, there are a number of things. So a lot of people tend to try and put the facade up, and it takes a while to actually notice because we're all good at playing roles and just smiling as we go. But I think the telltale signs can be someone that loses their mojo, someone that maybe would have been speaking up in the workplace who suddenly doesn't have an opinion on things anymore, someone who basically does what needs to be done and then switches off at the end of the day, or someone who doesn't switch off at all. There are lots of signs, but I think personally speaking, if I was talking to clients, if you feel that really it's not interesting you anymore, you're just churning along, or you feel that just energy is low, um, then I think you at least, even if you don't move career at that point, I think you should actually talk to someone and actually explore it further, because those telltale signs can lead to much more ingrained difficulties if you just try and stay in that environment. So I think if you feel any telltale signs, it's a bit like if you get a cough, you might go to the doctor. If you feel that sign that every time you come into work, or if it gets to Monday morning, Sunday night even, you're sitting dreading that thought of Monday morning, you're just sitting dreading that thought of the commute into work, if you have to go into work, then I think it's something that, to just leave that is not good. It's actually thinking about, well, why am I feeling this? Is it just because I'm tired, I've had a late night, or is there something deeper than this? And actually, a coaching session can actually just take some of that out and actually get you starting to think. Because I think, back to what this podcast is, which is about effortless attraction. One of the reasons why this interests me is that, you know, if you're just going along the hamster wheel of life, you will just continue on it. But I think sometimes actually just stopping and listen, whether it's to podcasts or talking to coach or talking to your friends or mentors and work, um, once you start actually thinking there's another way, then things can start to appear and you start to attract people and situations that allow you to start moving in different directions. So, that's why I think, just to keep going on that hamster wheel's wrong. If you start feeling it, it's about starting to think about, well, who can I talk to? How can I test this out? And look into other friends, family, or a coach, whatever that happens to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very important that, because listen, if you stay on that hamster wheel and the big end goal is the pension, or because
Hmm.
we're both,
Yeah,
myself and Jim, living here in Spain now in the People's Dream. When I retire, then I'm going to do that. But at what cost? At what
absolutely.
cost? Because you can live
Yeah.
here, like I always say, we're living in heaven, but you can take hell with
Hmm.
you, or your body can be done by the
Oh,
time you
yeah.
get that length. And it may seem for some people very difficult to comprehend that it is possible to
Hmm.
be happy at what it
Yeah.
is that you do. Or we may have the limiting belief, listen, I have no qualifications, so
Yeah.
I can only get these X, Y, and Z. So
Hmm.
these employers have full advantage of me. But at least if you're willing to explore or talk to the likes of yourself, Colette,
Hmm.
well, let's see. Let's see.
Yeah.
Don't listen to anyone else's opinion. Now, I know we've stayed on your professional end here.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to delve too deep in. I'm not delving too deep into personal, but
That's okay.
you'd mentioned something a wee bit beforehand there. Whenever you looked at things and said they're not aligning with my values, hence the
Mhm.
choices that you made to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm not 100% on the full story, but I remember
Yeah.
the story, and I said it left an impact with myself. It was your mum was
Oh,
very
yeah.
ill,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
on her room door there was an A4 page. So
Yeah.
you tell us that wee story, Colette.
Yeah.
That'd be lovely.
Absolutely. My mum, God rest her, she had dementia, and my mum worked in the civil service, was there most of her career, and was a formidable woman in her day. And we came from a mixed marriage, and that was in the 1960s. So it was, big decisions to be made. We were a working class family in Belfast, and as I say, but long story short, she came down with dementia and ended up in a home. And when she was admitted to the home, I came in one day and I saw they'd put the sheet on the door, and it was really for the staff or any of the visitors to know who she was and a bit about her. And it basically said, I'm Irene. I like a wee white wine. I love Spain and love visiting Spain, and I love dancing. And she had a few other things on it, but I just looked, and it was very, what's the word? It was very poignant and a few tears. And then I thought, well, if that's how our lives are going to end up, that we have an A4 sheet that basically sets out who we are and what we've done, I'm going to bloody well make sure that mine is a good A4 sheet and actually a fulfilled sheet. One of my values, yes, I like to work hard, but I also like to travel. And I just felt at that stage that, it was something that actually has always sat with me since then around I'm building that story. I'm building that A4 sheet. I'm writing it. And I think that's the important piece here, that if I say stuck, I'm allowing myself to stay stuck on that chapter. So therefore, if I want to actually have that wonderful sheet on the door, whenever it's my time, then I need to make sure that I keep the pen in my hand. And I think that's really where I looked at it. And as I say, I think she had a wonderful life, and wanted to write her own story at one point, but she never got around to it. So I think it's important that we actually take the time when we actually have our health and have the wherewithal to do it. And it's what I have found is that once you reach out to people, they're more than prepared to help you and more than prepared to support you. We're always afraid to ask, but actually, it's back to the law of attraction. I'm very into Louise Hay, and the work that she would have done, and she always would have said, reach out. People like being asked and people like to help you. And when you're in a position, then you can help. And that's really, I suppose, my mantra is, it is about actually, what's the word? Not bringing the rug up behind you, the steps up behind you. It's helping others. And making sure and that's what drew me back to careers, because that's where I can actually help others to fulfill their potential. And that's why I work with the various groups that I do. But yeah, my mum, and her story really, was so poignant. And I suppose the other bit I remember with her was that towards the end, she saw every day like a new day. She would see trees. She got so excited by trees and jumped up and down like a child. And she had that childlike excitement every day. And that was another thing that I took away. All her worries, all her self limitations, all her anger, all her stress, all her annoyance disappeared. And I just saw this fun loving woman getting excited by trees. And I think that's, to me, I was thinking, well, there was a lot that we could have got really sad about, but there was a lot I learned from that period that actually is helping me in my life now. And I think we can always see something, no matter how bad things are in life, that can actually help us steer things onwards. And I suppose that's really, that time in life was really a big change for me. I ended up getting a coach myself. I quit smoking, I quit drinking, I did all sorts of wonderful things. And I would be probably, what's the word, completely different to the person I was before that. But it had such an profound impact on me.
An awakening moment. But
An
as you
awakening
say,
moment, that's absolutely.
yeah, it does step into people's lives. There's something that happens, or we say it puts things into perspective. But then
Yeah.
perspective is very, very short-lived for people at times as well. But
Mhm,
I know when our paths crossed, I could tell
mhm,
very quickly this woman is going to succeed, do very, very well, because you're very passionate about what it is that you do. You really do want to make a difference for the better in people's lives. And by you assisting others to get to where it is that they go, well, then they have a knock-on effect. And that's what life is about. And I see people that,
mhm,
step into the role of even teaching or the medical profession. They do want to care for others. They do want to make a difference. But somewhere, and as you say, the civil service, the system can suck you in. The system
mhm,
can suck that passion and joy from you. But others, and
mhm,
it's delightful that people can get up and go and think, no, today I am going to make a difference. The thing is, Colette, going back on that
mhm,
story you said about your mother, you chose
mhm,
to see the
mhm,
greatness from that there. You
mhm.
chose to take the
Yeah.
blessing out of that. Whereas others could come, and I could be sitting, I don't believe I will be sitting talking to someone today
Mhm.
saying, my poor mum had this, my poor mum, because we could also take away the heaviness and the
Oh,
sadness and what
yeah.
are done
Oh,
by
yeah.
and bad things happen. But you chose the other way. And it's not,
Yeah.
change isn't easy.
No. No, and I think that's the thing, as I say, the other thing about, seeing things and reflecting on things, I have had some really brilliant jobs within the civil service. I think and I was a careers officer when I was in the civil service as training consultant. Lots of really good experience and skills that actually now I can use for what I want to do now. I think for me in the last 5 years, I ended up in roles that, you get the senior role and you're suddenly not doing the exciting stuff anymore. You're managing the people that are. And I think that's really I became more disassociated from the stuff that really I enjoyed. So I think, that's been sort of reflecting on me as well, that actually I took the promotion, got the more of the wage, but was doing less of the stuff I enjoyed. And that's really something that, the pay packet's not everything. It pays the wages, but beyond that, actually, if you're not getting that value, if you're not actually feeling the satisfaction from doing what you're doing, well, then you need to start to try and reflect on, well, is there other things I can do? And for some people, that's not necessarily changing job. It might be going and doing voluntary work or whatever, but it's trying to get that balance that, in your life, you're getting enough satisfaction and joy and creativity from it that allows you to overall feel, well, yeah, I have a life worth living and something that I can put in my sheet when I get to that stage.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Colette, so you work with people online and in person
That's
on a
right. Yeah.
one-to-one basis. You also
Yeah.
go out and do workshops.
That's right.
And I say and that's the beauty with online. The person can
Absolutely.
be anywhere in the world, and you
That's
work
right.
from all jobs, up CEO, from people going back
Absolutely.
into the workplace, up to CEOs. Do you find
Yeah.
that daunting? Whenever you start out, think, oh, I have a CEO coming to me. Or did you sit back and say,
Um,
oh, that's just another person who's going to have another A4
yeah.
sheet?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had one person recently, which I might have reflected with you on, who was a researcher, very academic, and working in one of the universities. And I think myself, I felt, can I help this person? They're obviously there. And it took me a wee bit of time to actually realize, well, no, they're coming to you because they haven't the time, the space, and it's been a long time since they've done an interview and they're wanting to move in the industry. And you have that credibility. And I just needed to sit back and reflect, because if something happens to your car, you go to a mechanic. If you need your house painted, you go to a painter and decorator. And, so someone that's skilled in one area doesn't necessarily have those skills in another. So it's that sort of, I suppose, you get the odd time when you think, how can I help this person? They seem to have it all sussed. But generally speaking, we all need someone to talk to, someone to bounce ideas off. And sometimes people come to me not necessarily because they want to move on, because we've had maybe the first relationship, which has been about them getting a job, by actually creating the relationship. They see it as something that actually wants to get to a certain point to say, can I have another call here? I want to test something with you. So it's actually becoming a, what's the word, a confidant, a mentor type role. And that evolves just simply because they feel comfortable working with me. So I think that's something that, again, that yes, in answer to your question, I have had periods where I felt, can I help you? But generally speaking, most people that come to you are coming because they feel they need someone to sign off to, or sign their ideas or test, or just get someone to actually hear them and, help support them to bring out the best in themselves.
Well, you mentioned another thing. It's not that often that I write things down, but I thought I must go back towards the end
Yeah.
and pump up my ego slightly somewhat. You said
Go
I
for it.
help people pull out nuggets of their skill sets. I thought to
That's
myself,
right.
have I actually sat down and went, what are my skill sets? So you have
Mhm.
we have worked
Yeah,
together in the
absolutely.
past. So my ego is all open now. What would you say if I had to go for an interview? Thank and I don't, but I interview people, which is lovely.
Yeah.
Um, what are my skill sets, Colette, from what you know of me?
Uh, well, I think you are a brilliant business mentor. I think you are very empathetic. You are very supportive. You go out of your way to help clients. And will do so. You're relentless at it, and you will do so when you're working with clients. You will. work after hours. If you see something, you'll send it to them, you'll support them. So you do the same thing as I do in terms of a careers, for my careers piece. You'll do with your business mentors, you will support and challenge them. And you also, actually, I think the other piece that I've noticed with you, because I've watched the work that you've been doing on your Spanish retreats, your attention to detail and your attention to customer service and intention to make it a good experience for your clients, I think is just something else. So I just, what's the word? I've learned so much from you, learned so much around how you do your business and how you work with your clients, and so much so that I've recommended you to other people as well. And wanted to actually say that on this, because I just think what you do is just so helpful and supportive, and I would not be where I am without having worked with you. I know that.
Oh, gosh. Do you remember I said I was a wee bit flat by energy? I think I'm all pumped up now. My
Oh,
feathers
good,
are
good, good, good.
fluffed.
No, but it's all true, and I think it's back to effortless attraction. Your some of your listeners won't know me, but I came across you because actually a girl that I or a lady that I went to school with 40 years ago had actually posted your business mentorship on her Facebook page, Catherine Mernon, and I was in school with her 40 years ago. She was in my year class, and I hadn't seen her since then. And on the back of that, I booked it. And on the back of that, I have now met Catherine, had coffee with her, and she's lovely too. We hadn't seen each other in all those years. And for me, that's effortless attraction. You take an action, you start to move down the road, and then you start to meet the people that can help you. And I think, if anything, what I have learned is that has helped me grow. It helps my clients grow. And I think the key thing is that, you mightn't know where you're going yet, but if anybody's listening and actually wants to make changes in their life, it is taking that first action, seeing where it goes. Don't worry about the long-term impact, but have the conversations, make the connections, because actually, once you start that journey, you're taking charge of the pen and taking charge of your story, and you will meet people along the way that will help you.
Yeah. And you know what? I am absolutely delighted that our paths cross, Colette,
Oh, me too.
because as you're saying, women sometimes, yay or nay, they're on the fence. Not saying all women, men
Yeah.
think differently than women.
Mm,
So for me, it's few and far between to meet a female and that are driven. And there was ladies all came through that course
mm,
and had the courage to
mm,
learn, wanted to learn, were interested in learning. But I just knew from the off, there's a girl there that no matter
mm,
where you were on holidays, you
mm,
could have said, I'm away on holidays, I haven't time to learn this.
mm,
Nope, not for Colette. And
mm,
I am absolutely delighted for you. And I love seeing how the business is going. I love, for your clients' success that they're also receiving the many
mm.
workshops that are
Yeah.
taking place as well, and more to come. And on the back of it all, Colette
Mhm.
Leeson, interview skills and career coach, is also the sponsor of Effortless Attraction podcast. Isn't life just amazing, and how effortless it all happens when you take action?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. As a listener myself, it's a pleasure that I am in a position to do this, and it's just in line with the sort of my sort of direction of travel. So it's brilliant, and it means I can keep that connection with you. So I'm well pleased.
Colette, for anyone listening that is perhaps heading off to a first interview, they've been to many interviews, nothing's happening, they're thinking of changing careers, or think, right, I'll give this a go. How
Mhm.
do people get in contact with you?
Okay, anyone that wants to contact me, the easiest way is to connect with me on either Facebook or Instagram, Colette Leeson, Leeson, or to reach me on LinkedIn. You'll find me there as Colette Leeson, or alternatively, come to my website and it's coletteleeson.com. So as long as you remember the Colette Leeson and Google me, you'll find me.
And it's Colette with one L. You spelled
Colette with one
Leeson,
L.
and I said I
Yes,
would be
it's
spelling
Colette with one.
Colette.
I know. Mine is the French version.
Oh.
So it is apparently. And the reason why my maiden name was Murphy. So I was Colette Murphy, and I was named after the lady that taught my mum the Catholic religion whenever she had to change her religion to get married.
Oh,
So I was named
wow.
after her. So I was Colette Ann Murphy. So I'm now Colette Leeson, but it's one L. It's the French. So it's Colette.Leeson. ColetteLeeson.com. Sorry. Yeah, that's me.
And I will actually then on this, if you're listening on Spotify here, or I think on Apple also, the link should go through in the description.
Yeah.
It's on various podcast channels across the places, audio only, but I will put a link to Colette's website on it as well. Colette Leeson, thank you for allowing
Thank
me to
you.
be the interviewer and you were the interviewee. And there was no rehearsing of questions. I love effortless. I love conversation
Mhm.
because if things are too scripted, then it's not natural.
No, and I'm not good with scripts, so I'm not. But I do believe whenever it's about knowing your subject, and then when you talk about it from the heart, I think people get it. Whereas if you're too scripted, so I do like to say it as I then teach it to others.
When you are the end result of that which you speak about. Colette Leeson, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in again.